All right. Welcome to the couch.
Welcome to the couch. We were just sitting here having a conversation, and we thought maybe we should record it.
Hmm.
And um,
We have these really great conversations, just the two of us.
yeah, and we want to
Like,
share them. And
what the heck?
so I think the title of this one is "Growing into Who You Are Within a Relationship." And this one's probably going to include a bunch about polyamory and stuff like that because that's part of our story. And um, So this conversation came about because someone that I know reached out to me and let me know that they were getting a divorce. And they said that it was, you know, that possibly that their spouse had married them for practical reasons and they were never really invested in the relationship. And I thought that was an interesting piece, and it kind of ties into something that we've been having a conversation about today. Um, as I've mentioned before on these talks, I have a T that's I'm in a relationship with. We're polyamorous, so I have someone else that I'm in a relationship with. And the feelings I have for this person are really deep and really strong. But we're also in the period of time called NRE, New Relationship Energy. And we ultimately have no idea how all of it's going to unfold. But one of the pieces that is such an important part of this piece is that Brian has is Brian is very secure in who he is, and so he's okay with me going off and figuring out what I'm going to do. And one of the things that we've talked about is that it's entirely possible that we might eventually uncouple. That's a possibility. It's one possibility in about a million things that could happen. And having that and how
So, can we
yeah,
take a
yeah,
tick there?
yeah, that's a
Okay.
lot of stuff. That's a
Yeah.
lot. So
So, so there's this thing in when we talk about our poly
yeah,
stuff to people who are not poly or poly curious or whatever you want to call it, the first question I get is, well, what if she leaves you? And it's like, there's an infinite, I'd say near infinite number of possibilities that can happen when you walk outside your door, right? You don't
yeah,
know what's going to happen.
yeah,
So just think of these two things that we're talking about that we've just set up.
hmm,
We're telling a story about a person who kind of came to you and
yeah,
lamented a little bit about getting a divorce,
yeah,
right? And we're talking about a situation where we might uncouple.
yeah,
So you can kind of think of that as two outcomes
yeah.
for something. Which do you think is going to be better for everyone in the situation?
Right,
Uncoupling is way different than a divorce.
right,
It's way more amicable. Everyone is kind of getting what they need,
yeah.
and nobody is the enemy.
Well, and the thing about polyamory and the thing that some people tend to not quite fully understand is that it's everyone is being as absolutely honest as they can be in the moment, or as honest as they're able to.
Well,
And
what does that mean, though?
so like one of the things that I was talking with T about earlier is that I sometimes will know something or feel or have this story going in my head that I don't quite have the words to explain. And so I
Hmm.
might not say something in like at
Well,
the
it sounds
moment
like a
I know it.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I have this thing but I don't know how to explain it yet. And so like this possibility of like, the feelings that I have for T have gotten really deep and they're and it's really special. And we have no idea how things are going to unfold. And so, one possibility is this.
Okay. I want to keep. I have a specific thread I'm trying to pull
Okay,
on here,
okay.
which is,
All right.
um, excuse me. I have a frog in my throat. Um, the two terms that we've come up with are new relationship energy (NRE)
Mm-hmm.
and stable relationship energy
SRE.
(SRE).
Uh-huh.
So if you're an actual SRE out there hacking away on your proud environments, it's kind of a neat little tie. So I'm I do SRE stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what my labels are these days.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're in a committed relationship. You have a couple of kids. You've been married for 10, 15 what years, or maybe two, I don't know. Um, and you end up in a position where you've had the cookie cutter life that everybody told you that you had to have, and maybe you wanted, like, legitimately. You do the college thing, you get the job. I feel like you want to interject with some details here.
Two things. One, the thing keeps focusing and unfocusing, and just making sure we're doing a technical thing.
We're doing a new camera.
We're doing a new camera, and I was going to say that the relationship escalator. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of have your cookie cutter life. You have the kids and you have the husband and everything's going great, and then you have that longing for something different. Like you want that spark.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you meet somebody in your life, and they kind of give you that spark a little bit, like that fire. It's there, but it's not there. But you can't have it. And then divorce happens. It's awfully unfortunate,
Yeah.
man. So I think the way we phrased it before was you have that kind of life, and then you have the thing that you need,
Mm-hmm.
but then you want the thing that you want. Sorry,
you have the thing that you grew up believing that you were supposed to have.
Yeah.
And then
you want the thing you want.
Then you want the thing that you want.
You want the thing you want. That's right.
And there's also a piece of, like, when you're in a relationship for a long period of time, you get comfortable with who the other person is.
Yeah, there's a lot of comfort.
There's a lot of comfort.
Yeah.
That's what the stable relationship energy is. And there's sometimes there are certain parts of your personality that don't get to shine within the relationship. And it's not because anybody's doing anything. It's just simply over time you develop comfort levels. And, one of the things that's stability.
And it is boring.
And that's
boring.
That's one of the things that Esther Perel talks about is that, that it's hard to have the stability and the excitement at the same time. And, what this experience with this other relationship is doing for me is that it's for both me and this other person, we are like getting to be sunlight for each other to grow in different directions. And so, we talked on a previous video of, like, one of the things I have to, that I'm needing to do within our relationship is grow out of your shadow. And, it's kind of like how do plants grow? They grow towards the sunlight. And so, this other person is providing me with some sunlight, and he's not the source of it. He's just simply helping me to see what exists inside of me. And the same thing with him. Like, he's not doing it, he's not the source of this. I am, but we are bringing it out in each other, and that's an amazing and beautiful thing. And who knows, maybe in a couple of years, there's a natural conclusion to what he and I have, or maybe there's a natural conclusion to what you and I have, and the fact that we can simply talk about that, and it not, granted,
the world's not going to come to an end when we talk about this.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to come to an end if we talk about this. And I can, in either circumstance, experience sadness at the idea of it. It's like I wouldn't want to,
Well, sadness on either side.
Yeah. And so it's this, it's just an interesting piece that in our society we have to, that was one of the things I was talking with T earlier about, is that, there's this voice in my head that says, well, you should just divorce Brian and make it clean and figure out who you are and do this thing. That would be, I think, incredibly disruptive for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary. It's not a necessary...
You may not get what you think you want either.
Yeah, I may not get what I want either. And the fact that we're able to have these conversations. Now, if he goes and falls in love, I don't know if I will have as much grace and dignity and...
I think what was really cool is that you expressed a desire for me to have a similar thing to
Yes.
what you have with T,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
And I do. I want him to have.
We didn't turn on amphetamine.
No, we didn't. We forgot
Okay.
that. I didn't want. I want him to get to experience something similar to what I'm experiencing, and it's nerve wracking to acknowledge out loud that there's this part of me sometimes that wonders if we're walking in the direction of that uncoupling. It's like I had this, it's that deep, vulnerability is like exposing your underbelly to, or, it's like exposing your underbelly to the world and saying, please don't kill me. And, it's,
Or please don't hurt me.
Please don't hurt me.
Don't abuse the privilege.
Yeah. And sharing this like deep dark thought that you think that you're not supposed to have with someone else is scary. And I had a long conversation with T earlier, and it was really sweet, and it was really loving, and it was a very gentle conversation. And then I came inside and I was like, how do I share the same thing with you, letting you know, okay, this is a thought I've had.
Yeah.
And like, I have a sign in our room that says, don't believe everything you think. And just because I think about something, I think we need to hit the light, but just because I think about something does not mean that that it's real. Oh, look, that's so much better.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yay. Just because I think about something, just because there's a possible idea, doesn't mean that it's going to come to fruition. But if I don't acknowledge it, it might actually be more likely to come to fruition.
It's going to
fester.
Yeah.
And there's going to be this part of me that's like, well, if I can't acknowledge it.
Now you have to get rid of me.
Right.
In order to explore this deep truth of yourself.
Right.
And that's where I kind of get the festering thing. It turns into something else. And then it gets rotten, and it sits in the dark, and nobody's addressing it.
And this all comes back to Carl Jung and shadow work, and okay,
Before we go down, I want to go off in the weeds just a tiny bit.
All right.
I recently discovered Bollywood metal, and I know it's kind of tangential. One of the music videos is a band called Bloodywood. Freaking amazing video about bullying and everything like that. And there was one lyric that was something like, "I am my own inner light," and it was talking about like this kid's getting bullied, and like the bullies give you the power to be a better person and stuff. And it's a really sweet message.
Oh, that's cool.
In the context of this really badass metal Indian Bollywood thing with the colors and the things and everything, and it's just amazing. And I thought of that lyric when you're talking about you are your own inner light. It doesn't come from Travis. It's just like that is something that has kind of been engaged recently that seems kind of new.
Yeah. Well, and it's Travis isn't the source of it, but he is helping to bring it.
It's like I like to think like he flipped the switch.
Right.
Kind of like we just flipped the switch here.
And like
turn on the light.
I think of it like a I'm looking at two plants across the room, and when you have a plant that has filled its pot with its roots, it will actually die because it doesn't have anywhere to grow. And you have to move it into a bigger pot in order for it to grow because its roots need space.
Yeah.
And I think how does that same thing apply to relationships? Because there is something about, and this may not be the case for everybody. I don't think it is. But for some people, like, you might reach the capacity of what your roots can fill within the relationship that you have. And that doesn't mean that anybody has done anything wrong. The thing that I watched I'll bring Esther Perel in here again. I watched a little short thing with her the other day, and what she talks about is, who people are in a relationship. Somebody might simply just be more adventurous and open. And that doesn't mean that they don't love their partner. They just need more adventure. They need more of that. And that happens to be, I think, something that's true for me. And you know what?
Well, before you got married, you did a lot of parachuting. We
Yeah,
haven't done that at all in our relationship.
I might have jumped out of an airplane 27 times. But and you know, and I will bring in that one of the things I was talking with you about earlier is that one of the parts that I'm having a really hard time with is believing that I'm worthy of getting to do this exploring. That it's that it's okay to be happy. That I'm supposed to make painful sacrifices.
Yeah, right. You're feeling happy right now,
Yeah.
and technically you're not supposed to be.
Right.
Right. That, according to society's
Yeah.
rules, like whoever set this up, and like there's perfectly legitimate rules that exist for good reasons.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, like you're not supposed to do this.
Well, yeah, I'm not supposed to do this.
Which
I'm
is
not
funny.
supposed to.
Well, I think that the idea, if I can kind of go into the weeds a little bit
And
here.
I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna smile because there's a message from Tia on my computer.
Aww. Um, I think when Jordan Peterson and others talk about monogamy being important to society, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I understand what he's saying, and I think what we're doing could still be considered in that context because we're not, I guess, hedonists, right?
Yeah.
We're not just going out and having sex with everybody.
No.
Although
we did.
Given left to my own devices.
Yeah, I know.
I probably have sex with everybody.
Yeah, I know.
But I hope that I know you have some constraints.
Yeah.
Right? We're not just going out and.
No.
The point is, these aren't just willy-nilly relationships.
No.
These are structured. Everybody knows everybody. And I have a K.
Yeah.
That I'm dating. And like everyone. We kind of insist that everyone knows about everyone else.
Yeah.
There's no.
And there are lots of conversations to be had about boundaries and
there's agreements. I think the way I like to think of it is like I don't there's boundaries for the individual, but like with us going off with other people, we have agreements.
Yes.
And those are the important things with us.
Yeah.
And then when in an individual interaction, there are fears, boundaries, and intentions. And that's kind of how we structure things.
Yeah.
And that seems to work out pretty well.
It does.
Yeah.
But going back to the original, the original start of this conversation of like, how do you evolve into the person that you want to be within the confines of a relationship? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I know what's working, I know what's working for us. And it does require vulnerability. It does require honesty. It does require a certain amount of introspection and self-reflection.
I wonder how this other person you're talking to, if they're at the point of getting divorced, I guess they're signing papers.
I don't know. I don't know where they're at.
Let's say they're signing papers, like they're filing paperwork with the judges and stuff. Would it be possible for them to somehow change the direction of that relationship to do something? Because I guess at that point it's like, well, we're going to see other people, but then it becomes this really. I mean, I don't think we ever did this, but like I see people turning this into a really toxic thing.
Yeah.
You build a new relationship with somebody who's exciting, whether it's the man or the woman, or the woman and the woman, like whatever.
Yeah.
And then that becomes, oh my God, I feel so fulfilled in this new relationship. I'm going to torch this other thing.
Right.
And they were always in my way. And you end up with like reinforcing all these bad stories in your head.
There's, as the person who's currently, Brian's dating somebody, but I would say that it's still dating. Whereas I
don't even know. Yeah, we haven't seen each other in a while.
Yeah. And for me, I think that the relationship I'm in is quite a bit more serious.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, Brian talked about the NRE, the new relationship energy, versus SRE, the stable relationship energy, and holding both of those energies at the same time is really interesting and complex, because there is this excitement and magnetism and just yummy gooiness of the new relationship energy. And the SRE, the stable relationship energy, it's stable, it's consistent, there's not a lot of excitement, it's boring. And like, the mind loves to compare and contrast.
Yeah.
That's just what the mind does. And if if you don't know that, and if you don't recognize, oh, the mind is going into contrast, because that's how it learns how it distinguishes things. It can seem like one is more than the other, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. And one of the fears that I have is that I am somehow going to be dishonest in some way, or that I will not reveal information in a timely enough manner
Someone's
to
going to get betrayed,
and somebody's going to feel betrayed. And ultimately, I can't prevent that. If somebody feels betrayed, then that's going to happen. But I can be as absolutely honest as I can in every moment, and listen to the part of me that says, you can still be more honest. Because I came home tonight and I shared some stuff with you, and it was like I wasn't being quite straight. I wasn't being quite as straightforward about what the conversation that T and I had was about. And
sometimes I do have to pull it out of you too.
Yeah, and he does too. Because
it's part of the dance.
It's scary. It's unnerving to say, "Hey, I'm having this thought about what if we end up uncoupling."
Oh, that's what you're. Yeah. Okay. You were kind of tiptoeing around that.
I was tiptoeing around it because it was like I don't want I don't want to hurt anybody. And what I know to be true is that not being straightforward and honest can actually cause more pain in the long run.
Completely agree.
And it's complex. And some people might say it's too complex, but going back,
too complex.
Right, but going back to the plant metaphor, if you realize that your roots have filled up the space that you have, you can wither and die, or you can figure out how to increase the space for your roots. And I think we had tried everything that we could together to do that. And then this thing came along, this person came into my life. Sorry T, when you watch this. This really amazing person came into my life, and I get to figure out who I am within that, and my roots get to go deeper, and I get to have a more complex, rich life. And that seems beautiful to me.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad this came up.
Yeah, me too. And I get nervous sometimes because, and I think this will be another video topic, is we're going to do this one, and we hadn't got to it, which is projection, because I will make assumptions about how I think you're going to respond to something.
Oh, like the statement of uncoupling.
Yeah.
And you assume that I'm going to
react
X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
ways.
react in a particular way, and it's.
You can't predict my reactions, man. I seem to be pretty good at this.
Yeah, you are. Like, I mean, you have moments when you can be a twit.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, yes. You have your moments.
I think that's kind of like when a person is out of energy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
tired. So I want to wrap this up.
Okay.
I'm worried about this video being
Okay.
big.
Okay.
All right. Anything
All right.
else? Any final thoughts? Burning desires?
No, I think,
Okay.
I hope that if somebody watches this, they are able to see that divorce isn't the only option, and that
Your feelings are perfectly legit too.
yeah, if you're
This is
feeling
not.
stifled within a relationship, that's not
I
doesn't
want
necessarily
to
mean
say
it's
like, don't go getting a new pot. A new pot isn't necessarily going to help you. Right?
right.
Get a new pot together.
Yeah.
I don't know what the analogy
Yeah.
would be.
No,
I don't
that's
like the idea of just, okay,
no.
I've outgrown this.
Yeah.
I'm going to move
Yeah.
on to the next
Exactly.
thing.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I love that correction. I love that clarification.
So we'll work on
We'll
that.
work on this, and I'm sure this conversation will come up more.
Yes. All right.
Bye.
Bye from the couch.